With Hebrew Study Tools, and today we are going to be looking at Hebrew prepositions and adjectives. Study of prepositions in Hebrew is straightforward and uncomplicated. Hebrew prepositions function like English prepositions. They are used to describe relationships between words. In Hebrew, there are three types of prepositions to be studied. The first are independent prepositions. The second are what are called makef prepositions, in that they are connected to the words that they modify. And then inseparables, meaning they are a part or prefixed to the word that they're dealing with. The majority of Hebrew prepositions stand alone, and for this reason are called independent. This is just like the English preposition. Prepositions can be spatial or temporal, as well as describe other relationships. Logos, we kind of moved from BibleWorks, but they will identify independent prepositions for you as they are individual words, so they'll be parsed out, and we'll look at that a little bit later. But here's an example of two prepositions before nouns. We notice here we have the definite article, the, and this is melech, which is king. So the king would be the second word here. Again, remember we're going from right to left. And then this entire word here in red is a preposition, the preposition vocabulary word before. Same thing here is the, and then this is the Hebrew word for tree. And this preposition here is the word for under. The second type of preposition are what are called makef prepositions. They are always joined to their objects by a raised horizontal stroke called a makef. Among the most common of these are this list here. Now again, these will be, as you do exegetical guide on your passage, this will parse it as a preposition. But this list here, if you want to you print this out and put it in your, you have that in your binder, will give you the common makef prepositions. The third type of prepositions are inseparables. These are prefixed directly to their objects and never occur independently. In other words, they're inseparable. There are only three to be learned, and these are them. The lamed, which is to, toward, or for. The bet, with a dageshlene here, in, at, with, by, or against. And then the kof, with a dageshlene. And of course, notice here, and that's as, like, or according to. Notice what is common among all three is the vowel pointing right here. Now again, in traditional Hebrew, you'd memorize these three, and you would try to eliminate that by default. Although sometimes words can begin with these vowel combinations, with the lamed, the bet, or the kaf, and you kind of have to sort that out. But Logos will tell you if there is a preposition affixed to a word or not, so you don't have to worry about that. The next thing we're going to look at is what's called the sign of the direct object. Now this is a very, very important thing to note. The main reason it's important to note is that the sign of the direct object is what basically puts some flashing lights around the recipient of the action. In other words, this is the direct object of the action by the subject in the sentence. In English, in the English text, there is no designator of where the sign of direct object sits. And this is something I never really quite understood. But notice that it can function here independently, or it can be attached to its word with a makef. Again, when there is just any existence of the sign of direct object, it gives emphasis. When there's a makef, it really denotes a relationship between the two words. What the sign of direct object is the word that receives the action of the verb. The word that receives the action of the verb. Now where this is most important to see, and a good example of this is in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Notice here in our English text, the is here twice, and this corresponds to the definite articles that are prefixed to the word heaven or heavens. It's a dual form of the word heaven. And the word for earth or land. You have definite articles here, and then notice here are two signs of the direct object. Now they don't have to be there, but they are. They're there for emphasis, again showing that these two words, heavens and earth, are the recipient of the action of this verb up here, which is he created, which is this word right here. And of course, Elohim, or God, is the one, which is this word here. Elohim is the word God. In other words, in beginning, he created, God, sign of the direct object, the heaven, or the heavens, and, is conjunction and, sign of the direct object, definite article, the earth. So what that shows is grammatically there's a very important feature here. Sign of the direct object comes into play. It says that, if you go back here, it is the word that receives the action of the verb. So the earth, the heavens and the earth are the recipients of this action. So that's kind of the significance of the sign of the direct object. Now again, notice there's nowhere in the English text here before the where you see any kind of marking that the sign of the direct object is there. And this is something we'll look at in visual filtering a little bit later. Next thing we're going to look at are Hebrew adjectives. Hebrew adjectives function just like English adjectives. They are used to modify, describe, characterize, or classify nouns. In other words, adjectives modify nouns with a certain amount of increased specificity. For example, the noun king can be modified by any number of different adjectives, such as righteous king or wicked king. Whatever you want to say about a king, you can say it with an adjective just like you can in English. Hebrew adjectives inflect or change their form in order to indicate gender and number, just like a noun. They are inflected in 4 forms. The good news is that they're the same as what was learned for noun endings. So we have 3 uses: attributive, predicative, and substantive in usage of adjectives just like we do in English. Now the lexical form of a Hebrew adjective is always its masculine singular form, just like the noun that we learned earlier. Well, that's our lesson for today, and if you have any questions about adjectives or signs of the direct object, please email me. Thank you.